Sana Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Jinendra, Jai Swaminarayan, Sai Ram, and good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome. A very warm welcome to you all. On behalf of GAA London, I'd like to thank you for joining us today for this important and timely session on emotional well-being and stress. Who hasn't got stress? In today's fast paced world, many of us are constantly juggling responsibilities, whether it's work, family, or community commitments. And often, we don't pause to check in with our own mental and emotional health. Stress has quietly become a part of everyday life, but understanding it and learning how to manage it is essential for our overall well being. This session is part of our ongoing commitment to bring meaningful, practical, and holistic health awareness to our community. We are delighted to have with us today Dr. Xander, a qualified chiropractor who have been practicing since 2008. Dr. Xander brings a wealth of experience and a holistic perspective on health, helping individuals understand not just the physical, but also the emotional and mental aspects of well-being. So today he will guide us through what mental health really means. We would like to know that. How stress impacts our body and healing, practical ways to manage stress, including breathing, meditation, and nutrition, and how our thoughts can influence our health and overall well-being. We will also have Q&A session at the end, so please feel free to note down your questions as we go along in the chat on the side. So, without further delay, let's begin this insightful session. Dr. Xander, all yours.
Thank you again for the introduction, and thank you
Welcome
for
back.
thank you for having me. And yeah, so as was introduced, there's a lot of information, unfortunately, to try and put into an hour or so. Please, yeah, feel free to ask me questions at the end, which I'll aim to answer as best as I can. Let me. Just bear with me, I need to show my screen.
Have you lost your green box?
No, I found it. There we go. So can everyone see my screen now?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so if we start with a little bit of background in terms of how our brain and how our body works. So this is the world's first uh, detailed image of one very, very, very small area of the brain. So that part of the brain is the temporal region of the brain. And that part of the brain is involved in controlling quite a lot of things. So your auditory processing, so when you hear information, people talking, etc., your brain's processing capacity for that. Same thing as interpreting language, your memory, and also your emotional processing. So one of the issues with stress, short-term and long-term, is that it does affect memory. So within 7 minutes of being stressed, you will lose around 50 IQ points. Now, it's not the case of those IQ points or your IQ dropping. It's because your brain is in a stress response. And it needs glucose and ketones to basically work properly. And when you are stressed or running a stress response, to remember information, etc., isn't that important. It's to either fight something or someone or to run away. That's why it's literally called a fight-flight response. So that little tiny fragment of brain, which is 1 cubic millimeter, produce quite a lot of data. So that data is about 1.4 petabytes of data, which is, as you can see, a lot more than what's stored in your typical library. So your brain is an amazing structure. Unfortunately, with chronic stress, the brain structure and function does get affected because these structures in the brain, some of them are called neurons. So a neuron is basically you have a neuron here and a neuron here. So they send electrical and chemical signals over each other repeatedly to control whatever part of your body. So with chronic stress, that information can get disrupted. So think of it like a short circuit. So that's why over time, memory, especially with people with chronic stress, does get and become compromised. And that also comes back to, for those of you who followed me with my previous talks about pain, because research shows that people with chronic pain, they have a higher risk of developing dementia, which is again something which chronic stress does, because when someone's in chronic pain, generally they're going to be in chronic emotional stress because they're worried about the implications of the pain. And when you're in chronic stress, long-term health is going to be compromised. So my role as a chiropractor is to make sure that your brain controls your body properly and your body is sending information to your brain properly by removing any interference to your spine, because your spine obviously protects everything and it protects your nervous system, which your brain uses to control all the other structures in the brain, or sorry, in the body. So in terms of health to most people, or to a lot of my patients from 18 years of working now, unfortunately, a lot of people believe that health is all or nothing. Health is an ongoing process. Now, for me, I always tell all my patients there are 5 factors which will influence your health. So those factors are nutrition, rest, exercise, an optimally functioning nervous system, which is why chiropractic is so important and beneficial. And also relevant to the talk that we're going to be covering today, it's the mindfulness part, which is stress management. If you do those 5 things, you can pretty much guarantee that you will be in pretty good health. Now, 90% of what takes people to hospital or to doctors is due to stress and lifestyle factors. So those lifestyle factors are sedentary lifestyle, which is not doing any or enough exercise, and diet. So as you can see, the World Health Organization, which is obviously quite a big organization, labels stress a epidemic. So how many people on the call can honestly say you practice mindfulness or stress management on a regular basis? Excellent. So for those who didn't put up your hands, please make sure it's part of your daily routine. Now, for everyone, there's obviously different ways to ground yourself or to de-stress. I love walking. So I love going in the woods or going in nature and just going for a long, nice walk. You can maybe write in a journal or you can go for a coffee somewhere. So please make time for your health and for your wellness, because the quote goes, if you don't make time for your wellness, sooner or later you'll be forced to make time for your illness. So these are the five factors which are going to influence your health and your well-being. And like I said, what we're going to be covering today is the mental and emotional side of things. So I've covered, for those of you who've attended the previous talks, I've covered the other four aspects. So tonight we're going to be covering the mental and emotional side of things, types of stress that your body has to deal with every single day, from the day you're born throughout your lifetime. Now, a human's genetic lifespan is about 120 years. So every human can live to about 120 years. I don't know if anyone knows that, but that's apparently how long we can live to. Now, your body's capacity to be able to heal and to function properly comes down to its nutrition or its nutritional state, your mindfulness state, how much obviously exercise you're performing, your posture as well, and your nervous system health, and how much rest or sleep you are getting. Because if you are sleep deprived for a week, your insulin levels and sensitivity are so profoundly affected that you'll be classed as being pre-diabetic. From a problem with mental or emotional stress is that it again also affects your insulin levels because your pancreas keeps pushing insulin into your body because it needs to fuel your muscles. That's why people get tight muscles all the time, and that's how their posture deteriorates because muscles are constantly tight, and your brain has to contract and stabilize things because it's running a fight and flight response all the time. So those three stresses from the day we're born throughout your lifetime are the physical stresses, and then we have chemical stresses, and obviously the part that we're going to be talking about today is the mental emotional stresses. Now, obviously, these mental emotional stresses, just for reference, it's not just stress. Stress is a very broad term. So what stresses me versus stresses any of you is going to be a lot different because everyone is different. You can trigger a stress response just by thought alone. So the analogy I use is, for example, if something happened to you as a child, and for example, there was a noise, so there was a car crash. So every time you're walking in the road now and you hear maybe a car screeching off or braking hard or there's a loud bang, your brain takes you back to childhood and it creates, excuse me, it creates a stress response in your body. Now, if you can trigger a stress response in your body just by thought alone, and that stress response is going to make you sick, do you think that your thoughts could then heal you or has the capacity to heal you? Absolutely. So for everyone on the call, one of the world's leading experts on the mind-body connection, and for everyone, I'd recommend do some research and listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza, please. So that's Joe, and his surname is Dispenza. So Dispenza. So he's a world leading, he's a chiropractor as well, but he's also a researcher. And he studies the mind-body connection. Now, the principle that we have is imagine you have a backpack. You're born with a backpack on. What stress represents, whether that be physical stress, mental stress, or chemical stress, is you putting a rock in your backpack. You have water wings on and you're in a pool. Those water wings have a slow leak. That leak is your genetic lifespan, which is 120 years. So what stress represents is a chronic load and a rock in your backpack. So life becomes a lot difficult, more difficult. because obviously you have rocks in your backpack. So I would hope for you to understand what stresses are affecting you and how you can help your body to help to heal itself. Because there is no medication that is going to fix a problem or a symptom or a condition which is caused by stress. Most chronic illness, as I mentioned earlier, is stress related because your body is running a fight or flight response. So, for reference, a fight or flight response is where your brain kicks in an inflammatory stress response. So, we get constriction of the blood vessels, all the blood vessels constrict, they pump all the blood out of the organs into your muscles. Your pupils constrict because you need to get more light into your system. Your hearing increases. You produce more saliva. Your pancreas releases insulin because it needs fuel. Your blood pressure goes up because it has to pump continuously all the blood around your body and into your muscles. So over time, that is how people can develop things like high blood pressure or diabetes or arthritis, etc., etc. Because your body is running a fight-flight response continuously all the time. Now, you don't want to put inflammatory things into the system, which is going to keep exacerbating this stress condition. So that's where the diet comes in. Refined seed oils, complex carbohydrates, sugar, gluten, dairy, any type of artificial stuff. No artificial sweeteners, no preservatives, excuse me, no alcohol, limited alcohol. Caffeine, again, is a stimulant, etc. Natural skin products. So a lot of skin products would contain chemicals which disrupt your hormones. Again, if your body is running a fight or flight response, your hormones are going all over the place. So your skin is your biggest organ. You don't want to put chemicals on it, which is going to further disrupt its hormone function or your endocrine system. Other thing to try to reduce or limit is soya or soy protein because that has estrogen mimicking compounds. So again, when we have a stress response, we don't have to, or you don't want to have more hormonal dysfunction by the foods you're drinking or the chemicals you're putting on your skin. So there is an app which I recommend everyone downloads. It's called Yuka, Yuka. So it's a free app which you can download to then scan the barcode of your food, your drinks, and your cosmetics. And it will give you a breakdown. First of all, it gives you a rating out of 100. And it'll give you a traffic light system, red, yellow, green. Anything in red, you don't put that in or on your body. And then we'll give you a breakdown of the usual things of sugar, so too sugary, too much protein or whatever. And then gives you a breakdown into the ingredients. So for example, if we're talking about chemical things, for example, if you use antiperspirant, it will tell you it contains, for example, aluminium. Aluminium does A, B, and C to your body. Or it contains E421, which is called benzodihydro, whatever. And this is the effects, and the World Health Organization classes it as a possible carcinogen, cancer causer. So it's something I recommend everyone uses. Now, in terms of your posture, the biggest culprits for postural changes is desk work and using tech, so your phone or tablets. If you are in an upright posture, you can actually think better and happier thoughts compared to being in a slouched posture. Sitting in an upright posture improves your speech, it improves your focus, and it helps your body deal better with stress. So sit straight, keep your shoulders back, tuck your chin back. If you're sitting, keep your hips and your knees at 90 degrees. That's basic upright sitting posture. If you're going to be standing, keep your pelvis neutral. Again, pull the shoulder blades back, so squeeze the shoulder blades slightly together, and then tuck the the chin back, so it's in line with your shoulders. So that's ideal standing posture. Does that make sense? Good. So most chronic conditions are stress and lifestyle related. Too much of something and too little of something. So too much glucose, sugar, basically, and too much unstable molecules, free radicals. So that's where your anti-inflammatory diet comes in. Because again, if you keep having inflammatory things, sugar, gluten, carbohydrates, ultra-processed foods, caffeine, etc., you're putting fuel on a fire. So ginger, garlic, turmeric, curcumin, any types of nuts or seeds, especially walnuts, because walnuts have omega-3. Omega-3 is extremely important for every cell in your body, and that's the only thing that your body can't produce. Oily fish, so salmon, mackerel, tuna, sea bass, herring. If you're excuse me, if you're vegetarian, then you need to obviously take supplement. So a vegan omega-3 supplement is something that obviously you need to take. Seaweed, vegetables for fiber, okay, tomatoes, etc. So these are all the anti-inflammatory things that you want to be having. Now, how you do that, that's up to you. You can juice it. You shouldn't use a microwave because that's basically just nuking everything and burning everything from the inside out. Okay. Preferably if you can steam it, so that will seal in the nutrients. Herbs and spices, olive oil. So that should basically be your diet that you should be considering. So, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to lose around 50 IQ points within 7 minutes of being stressed. And then we are stuck in this low-grade inflammatory response. So you have stress, either from thinking of something or someone that bothers you over and over again, or a situation or an event, leading to that low-grade inflammatory response, causing tissue damage, leading to further stress and further inflammation. So this is the cascade. So that's how the body degenerates. Okay. Are you aware that stress hormones are given to patients who have organ transplants? If someone goes in and, for example, they're going to get a new kidney, they will be given stress hormones so that their body doesn't reject the foreign tissue. So if the body so profoundly is affected by stress hormones that the immune system is immediately shut down, how do you think your body is going to be able to heal and function from physical, chemical, or mental stress every day? That is why chronic disease is through the roof. 90% of your immune system is in your gut, coming back down to your diet again. So you need to eat a whole diverse range of foods and preferably eat a rainbow. Colorful things, blacks, reds, greens, yellows, etc. Because by eating a healthy, diverse diet, you can get your bacteria cross-populating and everything to start working properly to build a healthy immune response. So even though you're going to have stress, your immune system is going to be functioning a lot better because actually your bacteria are healthy. So kefir, kombucha, sauerkraut, cabbage, etc. Those are all things. Plus, like I said, eating your rainbow, which is very important to keep a healthy gut. So in terms of your nervous system, this is called your autonomic nervous system. It has two divisions. We have your fight or flight or your stress response, which is your sympathetic response. And then you have your parasympathetic, which is your rest, growth, healing, repair, slowing things down, taking it easy. What chronic stress does is keeping your body in the red zone. Now, you might not feel it, but your body might show it. So if you go to your GP and you check your blood pressure and your blood pressure is elevated, that's usually a sign of a sympathetic response. Same thing with diabetes. If you're pre-diabetic, etc., it could be if cholesterol is going up, if your inflammatory markers are up, if your muscles are tight, etc., if you're getting brain fog, if you're getting constipated, if you're getting reflux. So these are usually the symptoms of your body being in a chronic stress response. Okay. So you want to get your body and keep your body in this green zone. Everything is healing, everything is calm, everything is working adequately. Okay. So every cell in your body genetically is the same. So this is from the research of Dr. Bruce Lipton. He is a world-leading epigeneticist. There is no difference between a skin cell in your body, a hair cell, an eye cell, a nerve cell, a brain cell. They're all the same blueprint. What comes down to how well that cell forms and develops comes down to the genetic function of that cell. In your cell, you've got things called your mitochondria. So that's the part of the cell that produces your energy. Now, the best diet for that is going to be the Mediterranean diet, for example. What chronic stress does, it slows down your energy levels. So again, you want to have a healthy diet so your mitochondria can start producing better energy. And again, that's where exercise comes in. And that's where the mindfulness comes in to make sure you're actually sending positive energy into your body. Wake up. First thing you do before standing up, sit on the edge of your bed, do some breath work, close your eyes. Today is going to be an amazing, fantastic day. I have a fantastic family. I have a fantastic job. Whatever you want to say it, but actually believe it. Okay? Because what happens is what chronic stress does, it affects your genes in the cell, which is basically your DNA. So you want to have your cells replicating healthily so you can create a healthy body rather than cells dying and being replaced by bad cells. Because every second you've got cells dying and being replaced by new ones. And the function of those cells comes down to the expression of the gene in that cell, which comes down to your environment. How good is your environment? How good is your diet? How good is your posture? How good is your sleep? How much exercise do you do? And how's your mind? Because that's how you create illness and that's how you create wellness. There's no middle ground. But you don't go from being healthy and well to being suddenly sick. It's a gradual, slow process. This is what stress does to your body, amongst all the other things, just as a reference. So I'll leave it up so you guys can have a look. Does that make sense? One of the most significant ones is this. Your brain doesn't want to be in pain 24/7. So it starts slowing down or switching off pain receptors from muscles, bones, organs, soft tissues, etc. So just because there's no pain in your body, it doesn't mean your body is healthy. And it doesn't mean your spine is healthy. It doesn't mean that your muscles are healthy, etc. So again, being proactive with your health, practicing mindfulness, journaling, going for a walk, meeting up with people, socializing. These are all things you should be actively participating in. So I talked about your gut health earlier. Your gut and your brain are best friends. The nerve, which is the information between your brain and your gut, that's called your vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve is one of the most important and one of probably the longest nerve in your body. So your vagus nerve starts in the back part of your brain. That's called your brain stem. And it comes down and it goes into every one of your organs. If your gut is healthy and your bacteria are making your happy hormones, so one of them is called serotonin. So around 90% of serotonin is made in your gut by your bacteria, which the vagus nerve takes up to your brain. Serotonin is a very important hormone because it's to control your sense of appetite, but it's also your mood, your emotions, and a happy hormone. Okay. So it's very important to make sure you have a healthy gut because if you have a healthy gut, that nerve then takes serotonin back to your brain. But then we also need to consider what is going to affect the health of the nerve. So there are three things you can do to work on activating or stimulating your vagus nerve. So you can breathe, you can chant, you can say things like you can sing. Those are all things which will help to stimulate your vagus nerve. And the other thing is going to be cold exposure. So that's why you see people going in an ice bath, for example, or doing a cold shower, because that is the instant activation and stimulation for the vagus nerve. Now, when your vagus nerve is healthy, that sends healthy signals to the green part because it tells the body everything is calm and chilled and relaxed. However, if the vagus nerve is continuously overstimulated, that then keeps activating that stress response. And because it goes into all of your organs, it keeps activating and accelerating your heart rate. That's why people develop things like tachycardia, palpitations, high blood pressure, etc. It shuts down your immune system, which is in your gut. So that's why people get constipated, for example. And it tells the pancreas to keep releasing insulin. So that's how people, or one of the reasons why people can develop, for example, diabetes, etc. So it's very important for you to make sure that you're working on your vagus nerve every single day because stress is 24/7, 365. Now, again, everyone is different. So you work on what works best for you. But you have to do it every single day because you have to create a habit. Not wait for the stressful event or situation to occur and then to practice breathing or whatever and expect your body to be calm or heal. It's not going to work that way. So you have to be proactive rather than reactive. Wake up in the morning, sit on the edge of your bed, do your affirmations, do your breath work. Go to work. If you walk to work, breathe. Listen to classical music or listen to music that has different hertz, like 8 hertz, 10 hertz, because that activates different brain waves. and it will release things like serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin and things in your brain. Okay. Then when you get home, you do some breath work, you write your thoughts down on a journal, because if it's out of your mind, it's out of the subconscious and it's gone. You don't think about it. 90 to 95% of who you are is run by your subconscious brain. If your brain is full of clutter, thoughts, emotions, stressful things, I've got to do this email, I've got to do this, I've got to wake up, it's too much clutter. Put everything down. That's the only way to get rid of it. Okay. There's a world-renowned nutritional biochemist. Her name is Dr. Caroline Leaf, Leaf. She published a study which showed that when someone is in a bad mood and they eat, they can potentially lose up to 80% of the nutrients from that meal because of the connection between the brain and the gut. Your brain releases digestive enzymes to the stomach, and it tells the stomach, release enzymes, digest the food, etc., etc. Again, if you're chronically stressed, you've got things on your mind, your subconscious is running the shop, and you eat something, do you think your brain is going to tell your stomach and your intestines to extract the nutrients, release this, get rid of that? No, because it has to tighten up muscles, it has to think of everything else. Digesting food is not a priority. Priority is staying alive and making sure this person is not gonna get damaged or stressed or something's gonna happen to them. So when you eat, you don't use your phone, you don't watch TV. You sit, you speak with your family, you enjoy your meal, you actually look what you're eating. You chew your food, so your brain releases the digestive enzymes. So by the time it's in the stomach, it's already partially digested. Eat your food in a specific order. You eat fiber first because that goes into your stomach, into the small intestines, and it creates a barrier. So then everything you eat after that is then not going to release a big glucose spike, because glucose and insulin, they go hand in hand. So you don't want to keep releasing glucose because you already have inflammation because you have stress. So your insulin levels are already quite high. So then your brain has to try and balance things out. So why give your body a hard time? Eat fiber first. So you eat your vegetables first, then you eat proteins and fats, and then finally you have your carbs if you want to eat your carbs, which is the starch. So if you eat it that way, and then you go for a 10-minute walk, then you can reduce potentially that spike of that meal by up to about 70, 75%. Because your brain then goes, okay, I've got fuel, but I'm moving. So it's using that fuel, which is the glucose and the insulin, to burn everything because you're moving rather than sitting then watching TV, enjoying a movie. So it's just going to store it as fat and you're going to get a big spike in glucose. So I mentioned earlier about the benefit of your Mediterranean diet. These are your mitochondria in your cell. That is your powerhouse making your energy. So if you feel sluggish or lethargic, or you've got some brain fog and you don't just don't feel right, just try going on a Mediterranean diet and see what happens. So unregulated inflammation, again, stress, damages your mitochondria. It reduces how they actually regenerate and how well they regenerate. And they affect the function of them and they lead to tissue dysfunction. So high quality diets, Mediterranean diet, lower levels of oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is basically your body produces free radicals. Free radicals are nasty cells that can cause other damage. So that's where you want to have things that have high antioxidants. So for example, things like blueberries, fantastic, superfood, kiwi, avocado. So these are all things you want to be considering, okay? Because if you improve your mitochondrial function through your diet, you reduce cancer, metabolic, so diabetic, and cardiovascular conditions. Does that make sense? Good. And also, please, if you're able to eat organic, A, for the pesticide and for the quality as well. If not, either or, you should be washing your fruit and vegetables with just basic bicarbonate or vinegar, just to get rid of some of the potential pesticide residue. So I talked earlier about the vagus nerve. So just as a recap, probiotics, making sure your gut health is good. Okay. Smiling, breathing, singing, chanting, humming. There's another technique which is called EFT, stands for Emotional Freedom Technique or tapping. So tapping is where you would say affirmations and you would tap at certain points in your body whilst you're saying those affirmations. Now, there's loads of points. You should obviously look it up. Um, but basically, you would say, I am successful, I'm healthy, I'm calm, everything is going to be fine. So the principle of how tapping or EFT works, well, the way I would explain it to my patients would be, imagine you are stressed or emotional. Someone then that you love, whether that be a friend or a family member, they come and give you a hug, or they put their hand on your shoulder. Your brain prioritizes the touch signal over your emotional or stressful response. So straight away, you would become calm. So it's essentially by doing tapping, you are giving yourself a hug, which then calms your sympathetic or your stress response. Now, with breathing, obviously, breathing can also tie in with yoga. So I'm a big fan of yoga. Hold a stretch because it will relax your muscles and also incorporate some breath work into it as well. So there's lots of different types of breathing. Uh, you've got nasal breathing, so closing one nostril, breathing out through that. You've got breathing in, forcefully exhaling. You've got box breathing, which is where you would, for example, for 5 seconds, breathe in, hold 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, and repeat. So in 5 seconds, hold 5 seconds, out 5 seconds, hold 5 seconds. Okay. Making sure that you're breathing through your diaphragm, not through your chest. When people get chronically stressed, what happens is your brain activates different muscles, especially the postural muscles, and that's why your posture and stress are so closely linked. So then people start breathing from the chest, which then basically leads to the posture doing this. So it's really important to make sure, like I said, you're breathing from the diaphragm to get enough oxygen into your body. So like I said, making sure that you do anything that you enjoy. Okay. Breath work, doing yoga, any type of exercise, any type of movement. If you concentrate for an hour, it doubles the amount of connections in your brain. Okay. Writing. So something that I learned recently. If you type something on your phone or on a computer, you're only using around 9 to 10 connections in your brain. If you physically write something, it's about 30 to 40 different connections in your brain. If you write something cursively, it's hundreds of connections in your brain. That's why journaling is so important because you're activating and flooding your brain with sensory information. Don't type anything. You do enough typing, you've got enough technology going on. Write. Get a book, get a pen, write. Okay. Do you mind maps? Okay. Your brain is very visual, so you need visual things. If you want to manifest something or be mindful of things, close your eyes and be as imaginative in your brain. Physically imagine yourself sitting on a beach. You've got an orange juice. You feel the air, you can hear the sea because your brain doesn't know the difference between a memory or an emotion and an actual event. So as detailed as you can, when you're practicing your mindfulness, be visual. Close your eyes. Okay. I can hear the dogs. Okay. I can hear the wind. I can see this. I can see that. Okay. I'm wearing this. So, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Bruce Lipton, every cell in your body looks like this. These are your mitochondria. Inside in here will be your DNA. Positive thoughts stimulate them, make them work properly. Excuse me. Negative thoughts and a negative environment causes those cells to become dysfunctional. That's why 90% to 95% of people who are chronically stressed are chronically ill. Last few things, because I know it's late. These are four important hormones and chemicals in the brain. So we have dopamine, which is your motivational one, which is what you get continuously from being stimulated by your phone. So you want to avoid going on social media, scrolling on Amazon or whatever it's going to be, etc., because you're chronically bombarding your brain with dopamine. It's a dopamine fix. Okay. So if your brain keeps having dopamine and dopamine and dopamine, that's how people become addicted to their phone because it's craving dopamine. Okay. So that's why you want to limit as much screen time on your phone, on your computer, or whatever, because you want to limit how much dopamine you're putting into your body. Oxytocin is connection. So that is socializing with people. Serotonin is your mood, your hunger, etc. And then endorphins. Endorphins are important for stress management and stress reduction. So remember the serotonin, it's gut health and how well your vagus nerve is working. So please limit screen time as much as you can to help reduce dopamine. This is a PET scan. Someone who's happy, someone who's sad, lonely, depressed. See the difference? All the yellow areas are the areas which get lit up because they're happy. And that's pretty much the whole brain. If your thoughts can make you sick, your thoughts can heal you. It's as simple as it's biology. But you also have to make sure that you're putting the right ingredients in and on your body to help it function properly. Because it's all very well being the happiest person on the planet, but you're eating ultra processed food, you're having caffeine, you're having sugar, you're having gluten, you're having carbohydrates, you're sitting at a desk for 8 to 10 hours a day and you're not sleeping. You can't expect to be healthy then. Okay, that's all done. Thank you for listening. I hope you took away some information. Any questions?
There is on the screen people with osteoporosis, should they be visiting a chiropractor?
Yes?
They
Short
should,
answer.
yeah.
Short answer, yes. But they should
It-
also do, they should also do other things. Obviously, making sure they have high levels of vitamin D intake. They're doing, obviously, depending on the person, to make sure they do bone loading exercises. Because obviously your bone is living tissue, so it needs some resistance. And
Mm,
remember, from the age of 30, you lose between 1 to 2% of bone and muscle mass every year. So lifting weights, any type of impact sport like tennis, badminton, football, jogging, etc., just to continuously stimulate and load your bones.
mm.
Sorry, Kanna, can I just come in?
Yes.
Yeah, I asked the question because if you've got osteoporosis, your bones are likely to fracture. And if you're manipulating and adjusting the spine, by cracking or whatever it is you move it, that's a high chance of breaking your bones.
Chiropractors use a lot of a lot of different techniques to work on adjusting the spine. So again, it's on a case by case basis. So if someone is very osteoporotic, then obviously the manual adjustments, yes, may be contraindicated, but there are other techniques which we can do, which has exactly the same benefit and effect without physically manipulating the spine manually.
Okay, because I was talking about manual ones. Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
There is another question there. In I remember this from another subject you had done it. In head tremor, is it vagus nerve that is impinged?
In what tremor, sorry?
Vagus?
Yeah, what was the first part of the question?
Head tremor. Head.
Oh, okay. I don't think so, no. It depends on which part of the brain is affected. But no, it's not really going to be the vagus nerve
Mm,
because
no.
of the vagus nerve, like I said, is a stress response and that's organs. It's not the tremor.
Yes. Yeah.
And sorry, also in terms of tremor, sometimes it can also be a vitamin or a mineral deficiency. So especially magnesium or vitamin B12. So for example, people who have pins and needles or numbness or tingling in the hands, a lot of times they're deficient in vitamin B12.
Yeah. There's another question. Ayurveda says to eat fruit first as it's easy, digestible. Fruit has fiber, so it's okay to eat first?
It is, but then you need to watch which type of fruit you're having. So, for example, bananas or grapes have high natural sugars.
So you would eat that after your main meal?
Yeah, but it depends again on what the main meal is going to be. But I
Right.
wouldn't personally eat a banana or grapes on an empty stomach unless you're going to go for a walk or do some exercise afterwards.
Mhm. Yes. There's a question whether you should be washing your veg and fruit with bicarbonate. And you did say yes with bicarbonate or vinegar.
Yes.
There's another question.
There was a question from my side. I'm still a bit confused regarding the vagus nerve.
Yeah, what would you
Sorry.
like to know?
I
What
just
would you
would
like
like
to...
to know exactly what is vagus nerve. Sorry.
That's fine. So in the back part of your brain, you've got
Yeah.
your brain stem. So in your brain stem, there are 12 nerves. They're called your cranial nerves. So the first one is called your olfactory nerve. So that's the nerve that controls your sense of smell. The second one is your optic nerve. Three, four nerves that control your eye movements. And then the fifth one's your facial nerve, etc. So the vagus nerve is the 10th one. So the vagus nerve, it starts in the brainstem and it sits just in front of C1, which is the first joint in your neck. And then it travels down and it goes into all of your organs. So then as a chiropractor, it's very important for us to assess someone's upper neck issue, which everyone has a problem with because everyone is doing that, looking down on a phone or sitting in front of a computer, which continuously then puts stress on the vagus nerve. And then on top of that, if you have mental and emotional stress, the vagus nerve is continuously stimulated and activated. So yes, that's why we work on adjusting and removing the interference here continuously, because it's not just once and then it's magically fixed because life goes on. So it's removing the interference which is obviously what chiropractors would do, and then working on stimulating and activating the nerve through the things which I mentioned earlier to keep it healthy.
Thank you. That makes sense. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Sorry, can I just come back to the question on osteoporosis and what you do? You said there are other methods you can use besides that manipulation, for osteoporosis. So
Yes.
what other methods were you thinking about? What is it, stretching? What is it?
Just bear with me, I'll show you. So first of all, a lot of people have a misconception about what chiropractors do because they watch YouTube or social media and people getting cracked left, right, and center. So that's not specific, that's just for show. A specific chiropractic adjustment is obviously based on the person's assessment findings and a lot of times imaging findings, so X-rays or MRI. But essentially, what chiropractors would assess for is whether or not a vertebra has lost its normal positional alignment, which is then interfering with the communication between your brain and your body. Because the spinal cord is inside the spine, and then the nerve root, which exits. So obviously, the nerves in your spine control different things. So a specific chiropractic adjustment, whether that be manual, so a manual adjustment, again, depending on the level of the spine, would be adjusting the neck, kind of holding here and adjusting like that. Now, if someone has osteoporosis and we can't do that, then instead of doing that, then we can use a device called a activator. So an activator inside here is a spring, which we can increase or reduce the amount of force which is applied. So the whole point or the concept of the activator is basically exactly the same benefit and effect as the manual adjustment, but because of basically doing that, your brain doesn't have enough time to tell the muscles to contract, to tighten up, etc. Because a lot of times when people sometimes when people have a chiropractic adjustment, they might be a bit tense or stiff. So then that might hurt a little bit. But your brain doesn't have time to contract or relax the muscles because it's such a quick impulse. So that basically resets the joint, floods the brain with information, and your nervous system gets a reboot. So that's how it will work.
Yes, I've had that as well, actually. So I understand it more now. So what about tears in the shoulder? Are you able to help with that?
If it's a tear, no.
Okay, not then. But lower back problems and hip problems, you could help, yeah?
Yes, but again, it just depends on you'll have to have an assessment first of all.
Oh, yeah, yes, yeah, but generally, yeah, because normally, see, what's the difference between an osteopath and a chiropractor then? How do I know I should visit an osteopath or should I go to a chiropractor?
So all chiropractors are trained to take and read X-rays. Osteopaths are not. Uh, Osteopaths perform spinal manipulation, which is a large, gross, big movement of the spine, compared to a chiropractor, which is basically a specific force, either manually or using that device at a specific level with a specific amount of pressure. So that's a chiropractic adjustment, which is for one joint rather than three, four at the same time. And chiropractors focus on the health of your spine and your nervous system because the two go hand in hand. Whereas osteopaths would more focus on spine, muscles, and your circulatory system.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
There's a question there. While sleeping on the side, why is it beneficial to have a pillow between the bent legs?
So that's a good question. When we stand up, obviously you've got gravity, which puts stress on your body. Now, what happens is a lot of times, at least from my experience and from research, what happens is when people have poor posture, especially with forward head posture, that leads to a straightening out of the curve in their neck. Now, if you look at someone's spine from the side, there should be three curves. So there should be a curve in the neck going forward, and then between the shoulders going backwards, and then forward again in your low back. Now, chronic forward head posture leads to that neck curve straightening out. So when the neck curve straightens out, your spinal cord, which obviously starts on the back of the brain and goes all the way down to your back, it gets stretched by between 5 to 7 centimeters, and it causes disease. Now, you don't want to go and sleep then. Obviously, you're going to be rest, so you're taking gravity out the equation, but you don't want to then sleep, for example, on your back with your legs straight, because your spinal cord is still then going to be stretched. Obviously, not as much. So if you're going to be sleeping on your back then you want to make sure you have a pillow underneath your legs, because that lifting up, it takes the tension out of the spinal cord. Same principle with sleeping on your side. So if you're sleeping on your side with your legs straight, again, you're stretching your spinal cord. And that's the information highway between your brain and your body.
Mm.
So by taking a pillow between the knees, A, it's comfortable, and B, it keeps your pelvis neutral. Because if you don't have the pelvis neutral, what's going to happen is you're going to put one leg over the other leg. So the pelvis is basically going to rotate and flare out. And that's how you create a pelvic imbalance. Now, your pelvis is supposed to, when you're walking, do that motion. Forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. And that's the foundation for your whole spine. So that's one of the reasons that would cause the pelvis to rotate. So by keeping the pillow there, pelvis is neutral and the spinal cord doesn't have any tension in it. But then you also need to make sure you have a nice contoured pillow, because you're putting a bowling ball on a feather pillow, you're going to end up like that.
Yeah.
So you don't want that.
Yes, giving stiff necks. There's another question saying this lady suffers with a lot of migraines. Could this be stress related, or could you recommend anything that might help?
Don't get stressed.
True.
So is it definitely migraines or is it headaches? Because if it's migraines, obviously migraines have two different types. So you've got migraine with an aura or migraine without an aura. So with an aura is basically someone might feel dizzy, they might have sensitivity to the light, they might get tinnitus, and they might feel sick, or they might vomit. Or they might just basically have a migraine and yet feel well, etc. Now, with migraines, there are some dietary considerations. So chocolate, red wine, alcohol, again, dairy, the usual culprits. So just go on a elimination diet. Excuse me. So eliminate, say for example, if she suffers with migraines, say once or twice a week, say for at least 2 to 3 weeks, go on an elimination diet and basically don't have any gluten or any bread or any carbohydrates and see if it happens. Then go off dairy 2 to 3 weeks, see if she gets it. Then go off chocolate or cacao and see what happens.
Yeah, you need to see what affects it. That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Like
And
my
then
sister.
just do some massage
Yeah.
on these muscles in here. Because a lot of times when they get tight, they will give you pain referring from here, behind the back of your head, to behind your eye. So that's a pressure point referral. And everyone has tightness in it because it's one of your main posture muscles. So just throughout the day, just work on loosening these up and also to stay hydrated because most migraines or headaches are dehydration related.
Okay. It's very odd because some ladies do drink red wine and they say they land up with migraine. So I don't know what affects that. Anyway, there's another question there saying migraines have increased and are debilitating since menopause. Nothing seems to work. What would you recommend?
Well, like I said, just the diet to start with. There's lots of other options. Obviously, massage is one option, acupuncture is another option. But obviously, I'm a chiropractor, so I will always say try chiropractor.
Breath. Peaceful. What were you arguing about at the office today? That isn't anything that your client
I do apologize for that.
That's okay. You can also do some massage on the head, so around the temporal region. So massaging around here, around the jaw, because a lot of people, when you get stressed, you clench the teeth.
Yeah.
So you might be clenching your teeth at night as well. So if you do, you have to get a mouth guard. So just massage the jaw, and then you can do some active release. So press on here and then just open up and just do a few of those, and then just massage around the bridge of the nose and around here. So basically you can come down. So that's just a sinus drainage type massage. Plus, obviously working on these. And when you're eating, to make sure you chew equally on both sides, not just on one, because then the jaw keeps shifting, creating more tension in the jaw muscles. And these jaw muscles are closely linked to the upper neck. And once the upper neck is affected, then your vagus nerve is constantly stimulated. So
She's saying that migraine due to menopause, she doesn't get aura and she gets light sensitivity of vomiting.
it could be, like I said, there could be a hormonal issue as well. But again, since your nervous system controls your endocrine system, which is your hormones, again, that's what chiropractors will work on, removing stress on the nervous system to allow your body to work properly and to control your hormones properly. But again, if it's hormone related, then stress is going to be a big factor because if you're constantly running that stress response, again, your hormone system is just going all over the place.
Yeah.
So getting in a good bedtime routine, getting enough sleep, journaling, going for a walk, whatever it is, just to stay grounded and to make sure she's giving her body the best chance to actually work properly.
Yeah. There's another question saying my neck clicks a lot. What do you recommend?
So there's a lot of reasons why that could be. Most of the time, depending on the person's age, if they're elderly person, then most likely there's some degenerative changes in the spine. Because a normal spine would basically look like that. So you've got a nice healthy disc, meaning there's a lot of space for the nerve to exit, and the spine is nice and supple and flexible. So that's what chiropractors will do to keep your spine healthy, to make sure it doesn't degenerate. And also by keeping the spine healthy to make sure your nervous system is working properly. Versus a spine which would look full of osteoarthritis. So any type of motion then would then lead to that kind of crunching or grinding feeling or sensation. So that's one option. Another option is tight muscles or tight tendons. So tendons are where muscles attach onto the bone. So again, if muscles are constantly stressed or tight because your brain is in a stress response, when you do certain movements, it's like a clicking or a popping sensation.
Mm.
But again, without a full assessment, it's difficult to say. But that's two common reasons.
Going back to sleeping, she's saying, is there a specific pillow you can recommend to hold between bent legs while sleeping? Can misaligned pelvic girdle cause hip pain?
100%, because your pelvis, like your shoulder, it's a ball and a socket joint. So you've got a socket and then you've got the hip joint sitting in it. So when your pelvis rotates, your hip is going to get rotated either internally or externally, which is going to affect the function of all the muscles in and around it. So the hip flexors, your glute muscles, your hamstrings, your quadriceps, etc.
Mm.
Now going back to the first part of the question, not really. I mean, you can buy loads of them on Amazon. So they've got these ones. The new ones have a strap here, so that you fasten over your thigh, so it's not going to move with obviously you tossing and turning.
Mm.
And they 10, 15, 20 pounds.
Mm.
So it's just called a knee, I think it's called a knee pillow or knee sleeping pillow, whatever, but it's pretty easy to find on Amazon.
You mentioned that thoughts can create disease. Can you explain how this happens in the body from a psychological perspective?
So again, this comes back to the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, Deepak Chopra, if anyone knows him, or Dr. Bruce Lipton. So the principle is when you think of something or a situation or whatever that stresses you. Okay, let's make an example. If you're an adult, and so I had a lady, she came to see me in a week. She's 30 something, she's getting chronic headaches. She's Romanian. When she was young, she was attacked twice by a dog. Once she was bitten in the face and once was on the hand. Now she's going through counseling because she has family issues at the minute. But I asked her, what happens to you now when you see a dog? Oh, I get very stressed. I don't like dogs or this or that. And why is that? Because her brain knows that event happened to you. So every time she sees a dog, she has a stress response.
Mm.
So when she has a stress response, all of those things which I mentioned earlier happen in her body. Her heart rate accelerates. I checked her blood pressure. Her blood pressure was sky high because she was thinking of that dog attack, which she didn't even think about. She's just talking about counselor about family stresses and this and that. Muscles contract, etc. So if she keeps going outside and seeing a dog every single day, her body is going to keep reacting the same way because it's thinking that dog is going to attack me.
Mm.
So that is how her thoughts are causing whatever is happening in her body. So she's got tight muscles, her spine is very stiff, it's rigid, it's not moving properly. If I test her hamstring flexibility, so getting her to line her back and lifting up her leg to see how high it can go, it should go up to at least 90 degrees, which is straight. I can lift it up halfway and then it's rock hard. Okay. Now, if she keeps having that stress response, her body's never going to be able to heal properly.
Mm. Yeah.
So that is what happens in the stress response from thought.
Mm.
Now, the same principle is going to happen by positive thinking, right? Because that's creating sickness or disease by thinking of something or a situation that's bothered her over and over again.
Yeah.
So if you use your thoughts proactively and do your affirmations and journal and speak with positive people rather than people that bother you And don't complain, because when you complain, you hardwiring those neural circuits in your brain,
Right.
like I showed you on that scan earlier.
Yeah.
So that's basically how the principle will work.
So is there a specific breathing techniques you recommend that gives immediate calming effect?
Any.
How long does it typically take to start seeing benefits from meditations or mindfulness?
It depends on what you are looking to get from doing it. If it's just for general health or well-being, then yeah, it should take some time. But if it's someone who's chronically stressed and they've got poor posture, etc., then it's not going to be a quick fix, like with anything,
Mm.
because healing takes time and your body needs the right ingredients to be able to heal properly. So again, coming back to what I mentioned earlier, yes, it's easy to meditate and practice mindfulness, but if they've rushed to get to wherever they're doing it. So for example, if they do going to a yoga class or a breathing class, okay, you finish work at 5 o'clock, and then you're stuck on the underground, you're rushing to get there, then you finish, then you go to work, or sorry, go home, cook something. So all the benefit is gone.
Mm.
So it's to make sure that it's a gradual process, and obviously you're looking after your health outside of doing that mindfulness practice, because it should be something you should be doing all the time anyway, not just here, there, and everywhere.
So, in the lifestyle, how important? I know you've already spoken, but I'd like you to you know, say it properly again. Well, remind me actually. How important is gut health in relation to stress and mental health? You did speak about it, so I want you to stress it out more.
100%. Everything you eat affects your bacteria in your gut. What chronic stress does, it suppresses your immune system immediately. Your immune system is pretty much your gut and the bacteria inside the gut. So again, if you keep eating inflammatory things, ultra-processed food, sugar, gluten, carbohydrates, caffeine, artificial colors, sweeteners, preservatives, you cannot expect to be healthy by feeding your gut the right or the incorrect substances.
Mm.
And if you don't have a healthy gut, diverse gut, which is very important, then your vagus nerve, which is most likely going to be compromised anyway, because everyone has issues in the upper neck and they've got forward head posture, etc., then the vagus nerve can't take serotonin to your brain properly. So gut health is extremely, extremely important. Now, if you want to do a test to see actually which gut bacteria you have, which ones are high, which ones are low, there are tests that you can do. There's a company called Biome, Biome, where it's a stool sample that you send away and then they assess it in the lab and you get a report to show you these are your good bacteria, these are your bad bacteria. Now, certain bacteria feed on things that you're putting in your body. So if you have, for example, an Asian diet, vegetarian, curries, rice, etc., you want to make sure you don't put rice, 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 bread, chapati, rice, because it's going to create the same issue.
Yeah.
So that's
More
why you want to have a
carbs.
baseline. Yeah. So you want to be able to see which bacteria you have in your gut, which ones are thriving and which ones are low. So you can change your diet slowly, okay, to be able to get back to normal and stay at normal.
So, in community settings like ours, how can we create environment that actively supports emotional well-being for all age groups?
Well, what you're doing at the minute is fantastic. Okay. So that's a good start. Or arrange a sponsored walk, give to charity,
Yep.
meet with people, socialize, okay?
Yeah.
Have a buffet, okay? Invite the community to come in, etc. Okay? Because the single biggest contributing factor for your quality and longevity of your health is not how much exercise you do, it's not your diet, it's how many social connections you have and how often, how regularly you meet with those people. Those people ideally should stimulate you mentally and build you up, not put you down.
True.
But like I said, what you're doing is fantastic. So I recommend everyone does something like this. I'm grateful to be a part of it.
I did see you, I think, not last week, but the week before you joined in. I was very pleased to see you. Okay, I think that's all for the day, and it's been lovely having you. Thank you so much, Dr. Xander, for such an insightful and thought-provoking session. I'm sure everyone will agree that today's discussion has given us not only a deeper understanding of emotional well-being and stress, but also practical tools that we can start applying in our daily lives. Your emphasis on the mind body connection and how our thoughts, habits, and lifestyle choices influence our health and has been truly valuable. So, to all our participants, thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your engagement throughout the session. We hope you found it beneficial and that you're able to take away something meaningful for your own well-being. So at GAA London, we remain committed to bringing such informative and empowering session to our community, supporting not just physical health, but emotional and mental well-being too. So if you have any further questions, or would you like to say or stay connected to for our future events, please do keep in touch with us. On that note, we will now conclude today's session. Thank you very much, Dr. Xander, for coming in again. And it's wonderful that we're catching up on so many subjects with you, and that everyone for joining us. Thank you again. Wishing you all a peaceful, healthy, and stressful evening ahead. Stress-free, not stressful, stress-free. Thank you and good night. Thank you,
Thank you for
Dr.
having
Xander.
me.
Thank you, Dr. Xander and Panna.
Thank
Good
Thank
you.
night.
you.
Thank
You're
you. Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you, Panna.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Dr.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Xander.
you.
That was a very, very informative discussion today. Thanks ever so much.
Thank
You're welcome.
Good.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Panna, for organizing.
Good night.
It's Kamlesh who organizes, Kamlesh and I together jointly. So thanks to Kamlesh as well.
Can we have
Thank
the
you.
recording, Panna or not?
Yes, if you are in the group, so there will be recording there.
Thank you
In
very
the-
much. Yeah, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Good night.
Thank
I
you.
would like to learn a bit more about the vagus nerve, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you again. Take care and Shubharatri. Good night to all.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Panabin.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Panna.